Okay, I think we can continue. Continue.
Sorry, Fabs.
I think we should continue now. I have started the
Okay.
recording.
So as the second step of the scientific method, we have to interpret and analyze the data. So this is the data that they have collected from the social science survey. And the main or the important element of presenting the data is that it must be clear, it must be readable, and easy to understand and interpret by the audience. So I guess while writing your scientific articles or so, if you have something to present or something to share in terms of the data, it must be easy to read and easy to interpret by the audience. So these were the learning outcomes while formulating the survey. The team has got the hands on the ethical thinking. They got to know how to keep the data, how to do data safeguarding, and how to keep the confidentiality of the respondent. Because while doing the scientific research and conducting the social science survey, these are the main core things that we have to consider in mind. So as a next step of this scientific method process was preparing the samples, and depending upon the COVID situation and the lockdown situations, the one major challenge for us was where and how to prepare the samples. So finally, we have decided to.
There is a question. Would you like to take in the end or now? I think someone has a question.
All right. If it's relevant to the present or slide, yes, why not?
Yes, it is. So Gulil Ala asked a question. I have a question regarding such research surveys that explore hazardous chemical in cosmetics. How to deal with ethical and legal concerns over such research survey reporting and findings. The legal and ethical hazards here. It's in the chat, so you can.
Ethical and in terms of ethical and legal concerns, yes, of course. As I said earlier, we have to keep the confidentiality of the respondents in hand, number one. And the products that we have been using, of course, some of the products were from local brands and some were international brands, and we have not disclosed the names of those brands. So we have disguisedly mentioned those samples, labeling them as letter A to E. So this is how we have catered, but I am unable to take the first part of the question. I'm sorry if you can rephrase this question, that regarding such research surveys that explore hazardous chemicals in cosmetics, how to deal with ethical and legal concerns over such research surveys and reporting their findings. All right. So I hope that this has answered your question. Yes,
hello. Yes, okay. I'm Gulilal. I would like to rephrase my question. Well, you answered it particularly the way I wanted my answer to be. But yes, my question was the same thing. If we are not reporting which cosmetics are hazardous, then how are people going to know? Like, that was one of my concerns. Then we are going to keep it confidential. So, I mean, which way is a better way?
All right. When we are reporting our results, it's always better to keep it confidential until and unless we have had the preempt permission from that particular brand or so. If we have contacted that brand earlier that we are conducting a research on this or so particular product of your company, and we want to share the results, and if they are willing to share the results along with the name of the product, then yes, we can go ahead like that. But otherwise, keeping in mind the ethical values and ethical in context of ethical thinking, we have to keep it confidential. Right.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right. So these were the outcomes of this whole activity. While the girls of the team have prepared the sample, they have come to know how to prepare the good samples free of contamination, so that to get or gather the precise results from their samples. So once the samples were prepared, they were shipped to the International Research Facility. And this is a lab where our samples were received. And after receiving the samples, we were assigned a beam time. Beam time is the time when the samples were run under a detector. So this is an experiment. So we were assigned one day, and it was a 4-hour-long session. And our mentors were connected with us, and our samples were run under the detector, and the data was coming out. As said earlier, that the project was conducted completely remotely in an online mode. So the students were to take the decisions of the next steps during this whole activity. So this is the data that they have received. So initially, there were two techniques at the experiment. So the girls thought of running the samples with one technique first, and then if they found any element of concern in any one of the samples, they decided to go for the second technique, which was a little bit more time taking. And alongside, they were the one taking the decision. They were maintaining the data and the records of their experimental results. So after going through that activity comes the data. They analyze the data, and then comes the data interpretation. So we're here, you can see that we have had sent 10 samples, and this is the data of that 10 samples ranging from A to G. So over here, we are not disclosing the name, but we have labeled those samples as A to G. And for each sample, we have received a data in terms of the peak. Each peak corresponds to a certain element, and higher the peak, higher the concentration of the element present in that very element. And we have identified one such element with a high concentration of a mercury, and that was a sample of our concern. And later, we have conducted some another technique, which is called as a Zane's technique, to see the further details about that sample, about that elemental presence in that sample. All right. So all in all, now after starting from asking a question to doing a literature review, making a hypothesis, conducting a research, getting a data, interpreting the data, and then lastly comes sharing the results. And this is the main and important part, that how you are going to share the finding and the results of your experiment. So I guess that most of you may have heard this old proverb that if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Of course,
Yes,
you know
it
the
does.
answer.
Okay.
Does it make a sound, pause?
Yes,
If
obviously.
no one is, if there is no one to hear it, does it make a sound? So I guess you all know the answer, right? So of course, if you are not there, tree hasn't fallen. Okay, so for that, if you want latest discoveries and scientific breakthroughs to heard, and you don't want them to go unnoticed, there comes in one important element, that is communicating your scientific findings. So here comes the scientific communication. And I guess over the course of 6 weeks or so, you have built up enough knowledge that why scientific communication is important and what is the main aim or a goal behind the scientific communication. Because we want to build the appreciation of the science among the wider audience and encourage everyone to be scientifically literate. So this is the goal behind this. So here are the modes of scientific communication. So I am targeting 4 effective goals. One could be the oral, second written, technological, and artistic mode of communication. So I'll be going over now to the principles of scientific communication. I hope so. You all must have been through this over the course of this 6-week program. So first of all, you should know your audience. which audience you are, for which audience or which target group you are writing your research article. Either it be for a scientific community, for a scientific community members, or is it targeting some general public with little or maybe no science background. Secondly, you have to tell your scientific findings just like a story, because story help people to understand, process, and recall science-related information. Then should know how to paint a picture, because it captures people interest so that they want to learn more. Then you should find some ways out to connect your research to the existing phenomena, or maybe you can find out the analogies to connect your scientific findings. That will help mapping the knowledge from one domain to another, and people will find it more relatable. Then let the little things go, be simple, explain it as if you are explaining to 5-year-old, and try to avoid scientific jargons, right? Because that would confuse the people. So keeping these things in mind, this team has given an oral presentation of their research project, and this oral presentation was given to to the scientific community of that research facility, and it was also gone live on the YouTube channel of that particular research facility. So all in all, the oral presentation was targeting the scientific community and the common audience, both. As you can see that in this oral presentation, the students have kept in mind giving a provocative title to their research and come up with some visual effects as well. So that just looking at the main slide, they got to know that what is the research all about. Then as a second step, where they have communicated their research as a written in a written form, and they prepare the scientific poster. They have submitted this poster, and considering all these scientific method steps in mind, starting from asking a question, which you can see under the heading introduction. Then number second was to do a literature review, and we have mentioned that from literature review, what have the gains or what were the insights they have gained. And lastly, how to communicate their findings. So this is how they have presented their research in the form of a poster. And this poster was the part of the competition. There were other team members who have competed in this program, and they were all international. And this was the only team from Pakistan, a high school team from Pakistan who have participated. And going through all this effort, in the end, they have some fruit to bear. They earn a trophy for submitting this research poster. And this is the first international group for that research facility, Western-based light synchrotron facility, and the first high school student group from Pakistan who have participated in this science project and earned a trophy. And later, the success story is published in Scientia. And this is how the students have communicated their work in the form of an oral presentation, in the form of a poster presentation, and then they have published the story here. All right. So you must be wondering that why I have shared this as a case study, right? Because I want you guys to do a little bit drill, keeping all these points in mind, जो कि हम लोगों ने, I guess, quite briefly हमने उनको discuss किया है. So your task right now is to develop a scientific method process. So construct a research question focusing on current space news from our neighboring country. So this is maybe a small drill. You can do it in group. So if we have the provision of dividing the group in rooms or so?
I think we do not have the ability to drive, but at the same time, we can have a discussion. Or they
All
can
right, we can
always-
do it as a discussion.
Yes,
So maybe if I can do it this way.
yes. Okay, how are you?
Do I have the permission to share a whiteboard or so, or no? I don't think so. I don't have this option for me. Okay, no worries. All right,
Okay.
dear participants. So just take few minutes, right? And share your ideas that
I made you the host.
this is the question.
So now you can. Annotate, you can just annotate and. If you would go into view options above. Yes, view options, and then there will be option annotating. So anyone can use it, I guess. It's not restricted to host.
Mhm. Because you have given me a permission to
Yes, yes.
share a board, right?
Yes.
But I do not see any option of sharing a board here. I guess this is
Okay.
this is only for the host. No worries. All right, participant, let's have a discussion over here. How do you think? What should be the research question focusing on a current space news? I hope that most of you are aware of this current space news of a Chandrayaan-3. The mission sent by a neighboring country to space, the third mission to moon, their third mission to moon.
Yes, yes, they are. You can see the chat. Riba has answered yes, and I guess let's wait for the others. And yes, they are aware, I guess.
Yes, all right. So this is something good. If you are, if this is already in your knowledge, so just try constructing a research question around this topic. There's just a little bit hint for you. Maybe you can develop something, you know, in comparison with the neighboring country in our country, or compare the space industry of Pakistan, maybe, or the Indian space industry in terms of that.
Okay, so during the drill now, I think they can suggest a research question, right? During the drill, we can suggest a research question. Developer.
Yes, dear participants, you have to suggest a research question. So,
Okay.
yes, Kashi, one successful after, maybe it's not even knowledge after two unsuccessful missions. So, but success is that matters all.
Okay, so our first research question has arrived. How has India's space program evolved over the past decade? What are the implications of country's future in space exploration?
All right. Good. All right, so this is from Mohsen Iqbal, that how has India's space program evolved over the past decade? And what are the implications for the country's future? So Mohsen, if this is your research question, so what do you think? आपको इसकी background knowledge और background history में किस किस्म की information आप explore करेंगे, या इससे related आप hypothesis क्या बना सकते हैं?
Let's for instance, you can compare the fundings. How much funding does India have, and how much funding the different neighboring country of South Asia? Okay. Another question is, why hasn't Pakistan soft landed on the moon yet? What are the serious factors involved? Okay, comparative thing. Okay, so as long as we are comparing the two countries, so to measure that, so measure करने के लिए हम quantitative funding track कर सकते हैं. कि किस कंट्री के पास, नेबर्स के पास कितनी फंडिंग है थ्रू आउट द टाइम।
बिल्कुल, हम इसको और वाइडली भी देख सकते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ द एजुकेशन सेक्टर, इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर्स इन स्पेस सेक्टर, और द अप्रोच ऑफ द स्पेस इंडस्ट्रीज इन द बोथ कंट्रीज, के हाउ दे आर अपटेकिंग इट, एंड what is the major thing which is lacking in our space program. So these are the few things जो कि आप highlight कर सकते हैं, identify कर सकते हैं as your research question. So it is just one simple activity जो अभी आप लोगों को involve करवाया है इसमें. इसके जब आप इस पूरे process को लेकर चलेंगे as a scientific method, अगर आपने communicate करना है इस topic को in your science writing, you have to do a literature review. आपको लिटरेचर रिव्यू करना पड़ेगा इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ मे बी पाकिस्तान के एजुकेशन सिस्टम और इंडियन एजुकेशन द नेबरिंग कंट्रीज एजुकेशन सिस्टम, या इन्वेस्टर्स जो से हैं, कहाँ पे हमारे पास मेजर इन्वेस्टिंग है पाकिस्तान में, किन डोमेन्स में, किन फील्ड्स में, और वहाँ पे पर कैपिटा कितनी इन्वेस्टिंग आ रही है, इन्वेस्ट कर रही हैं, कौन सी कंपनीज कर रही हैं. तो यहाँ पर आप फिर डिफरेंट ट्रेंड्स जो से या डिफरेंट फैक्टर्स जो से हैं उनको इन्वॉल्व कर सकते हैं. And then you can come up with an authentic and avid article, science article. So in the end, I guess it's already an hour. I would like to show you guys this very video of a Carl Sagan on science communication. Maybe after watching this video, आप लोग कोई एक अपना science article उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में भी लिख सकते हैं, आप कंपेयर कर सकते हैं उसको एक वेस्टर्न कंट्री के साथ. ठीक है, सो आई वुड लाइक टू शो यू गाइस दिस वीडियो ओवर हियर.
It would not be audible because as long as you are playing. Yes.
All right, it's not audible for you?
Yes.
Right. All right, let me see what I can do. If I can run this, let me stop share this. I will show you this video right from the YouTube, and then we can have a discussion on this video.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So it's here. I guess for that I have to share my whole screen because I'm not.
Definitely fine.
No. Working this way. Just a second, please. I hope this is visible now. Is it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And is it audible too?
I think it wouldn't be audible because when the video is playing, it has to get into through the mic and. So,
all right, but I guess you can see the subtitles, right,
yes,
participants? Yes. So you can make the sense out of the video, right?
Yes, 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 yes. That would be fine.
All right. So after reading the subtitles of this video, so what do you think? Can you pick up any topic around this conversation? Yes, so if you can formulate any question. All right,
Okay.
just take it as a task for yourself, right?
Oh, okay. So there were since when you started the video, so there were some feedback on your previous slide. So
All right.
concerning that in the drill.
Okay, let
Uh,
me just read it.
yeah.
What will be the methods, what techniques Pakistan can develop to strengthen their outer space activities? Wow, this is also a wonderful one, right? It's a wonderful question. Now for that, of course, agar you are going for methods and techniques in Pakistan to strengthen and how to develop strengthen the outer space activities. So what can you do in your domain? How are you going to write your science article in this context? For example, are you going to collect some data? What type of a data will you be targeting? Or are you going to collect the data from the common audience, right? Are you going to target some specific expert or field expert? Kashif, if you
Yes.
can unmute yourself and
Okay. Yes. She said. Okay.
because you have to back up your science article with the data. It's always good to back up your articles with the data. So in order to get the data, you can approach the general public. First of all, starting with the general public and then reaching out to the field expert, and then collecting the material and the resources. And then you can, pitch up things that these are the methods that can improve the space industry, or where we can involve students in different activities so that to help them gain the appreciation of the science or space sciences.
Okay. Yes. Definitely. Okay. So.
All right. So this was the video. I guess you can think around it, and thank you for your attention. I guess once again, my slides got stuck.
Okay.
It's not running for me. This is all from my side. Thank you, participants, and